It's a very sad story. And I got to know him. He was such a beautiful man, such a lovely man. Somewhere I saw footage and I saw this thing and I thought, well, surely you've seen this. That was a loss that clearly had a huge effect. The story, and it's absolutely...
Imagine the shock, all at once, the panic, the betrayal, the heartbreak detonating in a single moment. The people closest to him suddenly saw the truth staring them in the face. The man they trusted hadn't just made a mistake. He had been playing them all along. This wasn't bad timing or confusion, it was an emotional earthquake. Everyone kept asking why. But the answer wasn't buried in police reports or hidden inside a polished PR statement. It was already unfolding at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party, even as headlines stayed locked on the Sunday tragedy. That night, the warning signs weren't subtle. They were loud, chaotic, and impossible to ignore. What happened between Rob and Nick Reiner didn't occur behind closed doors. It erupted right in front of everyone. The confrontation was raw, explosive, and unforgettable. This wasn't a small argument destined to fade, it was the public collapse of a dynasty, happening in real time. People didn't just witness it. They felt it shake the room. Conan's party wasn't just another Hollywood gathering. It was sacred ground, a place where power players finally dropped their masks. The air was thick with pine, top-shelf scotch, and old money. Laughter filled the polished halls until the heavy oak doors opened and Rob, Michelle, and Nick Reiner walked in. In that instant, the entire room shifted.
Look at him with his head kind of shaved, and I don't know if that's what he looked like, but he looks like he's got a screw, or an evil screw. So he was 32 years old. He was at a holiday party hosted by Conan O'Brien.
Conversations froze. Smiles stiffened. Every instinct inside that mansion screamed the same warning: something bad was about to happen. When Rob walked in, he wore the familiar grin audiences loved from The Princess Bride, and When Harry Met Sally. But up close, the smile didn't reach his eyes. It looked hollow, forced. His shoulders were tight, his body braced, as if he were holding something together that was already breaking. Rob wasn't there to celebrate. He was there to contain the damage, to pull his family back from the edge, before the world saw the chaos simmering behind the curtain. He still believed in the Hollywood machine that had built them, convinced it could somehow fix them too. But Nick wasn't following the script anymore. With his shaved head and sharp, scanning eyes, Nick didn't look like a guest. He looked like a threat. Every movement was deliberate, charged with something dangerous. He cut through the crowd like static, draining the warmth from the room. No smiles, no small talk, just friction wherever he went. Then it happened. Nick locked onto Bill Hader, the comedian known for his easy kindness, and instead of greeting him, he fired off cold, cutting questions straight to his face. No handshake, no smile, just quiet hostility hanging heavy in the air. The room froze again. Everyone felt it. Something dark was unfolding in plain sight. What's your name? Are you famous? Nick's words sliced through the noise like glass. There was no curiosity in his voice, only mockery. He wasn't trying to connect. He was asserting dominance, tearing down everything his father had built, one conversation at a time. Every jab was deliberate, and every one of them landed straight on Rob's pride.
Rob Reiner and Nick got into a, quote, very loud argument. His behavior at Conan's house alarmed the guests because it was so bizarre. One of the guests recalled Rob Reiner telling his son his behavior was inappropriate.
Every glare and every question was a challenge, a rebellion unfolding in plain sight. This wasn't random chaos. It was calculated. Nick was sending a message, loud and unmistakable. His father's legacy no longer mattered. Across the room, Rob froze, his heart pounding so hard it felt ready to burst from his chest. This wasn't simple embarrassment. It was fear. That cold, detached look in Nick's eyes changed everything. He wasn't scanning the room for friends or colleagues, he was sizing people up like trophies. The air turned icy. In a matter of seconds, decades of loyalty, fame, and respect evaporated. Then came the explosion. The calm of the night shattered. Laughter died. Music cut out. Every head turned as the argument between Rob, Michelle, and Nick erupted into the open. It wasn't quiet. It wasn't polite. It was raw, emotional, and brutal. Guests who had known Rob for 40 years stood frozen, unable to speak. They weren't watching a Hollywood legend anymore. They were witnessing a father losing control in real time. Michelle, usually the steady presence, looked terrified, her eyes scanning the room, searching for an escape that didn't exist. And just beyond it all stood Conan O'Brien, watching carefully. He knew this wasn't a drunken scene or a fleeting outburst. It was something darker. One of those moments when control doesn't just slip, it's lost for good.
Having the death penalty on the table is absolutely a bargaining chip. The prosecution is going to leverage that to try to get some sort of deal.
Rob Reiner, the man who once commanded entire film sets and built Hollywood dynasties, now stood powerless in front of his own son. The shouting slowed, but the tension didn't disappear. It lingered, heavy and chilling, a reminder that the mask had finally fallen. Rob leaned in toward a trusted friend and whispered, not with anger, but with fear. I'm scared. I don't know what he's going to do next. The words hit like a shockwave. No one wanted to believe them, but everyone felt the truth settle into the room. The air grew thick, almost suffocating. And when the Reiners finally left, silence swallowed everything. No whispers, no gossip, just stunned faces frozen in place. Rob and Michelle walked toward their car like strangers bound only by a shared name, not love. Outside, the cold bit hard, the kind that burned with every breath. When the car door shut, all the laughter, the music, and the illusion of safety stayed behind. That car wasn't just taking them home. It was carrying dread. Los Angeles shimmered like it always did, pretending everything was perfect. But anyone who saw them leave knew something inside that family had cracked. And that drive home wasn't quiet.
And telling guests at the party who wanted to call 911 to not do so. Obviously, Conan O'Brien is not responsible for this man's behavior. They had called, and Rob Reiner's son was placed on a psychiatric hold. Rob Reiner and his wife would probably still be alive today. Conan O'Brien stopped a friend from calling 911 during an explosive fight between Rob and Nick Reiner at the comedian's Christmas party, just hours before the director's son allegedly took his...
That night didn't end, it lingered. Saturday was the warning. Sunday morning would bring the reckoning. The sun rose over Brentwood like nothing had happened, bright, flawless, and merciless. Lawns were perfect. Hedges trimmed. Security cameras blinked red like silent witnesses. From the outside, the Reiner estate looked untouchable. But inside, the silence wasn't peaceful. It was final. The shouting had stopped. The fight was over. Whatever burned through that house the night before had reached its end. Then came the first sound to break the stillness. Not alarms, not panic, just the soft buzz of the gate intercom. The family's massage therapist had arrived for a routine Sunday session with Rob and Michelle, business, as usual, in a house built on order and success. She pressed the button once. Nothing. Pressed it again. Still nothing. The quiet pressed back, thick and alive. Something was wrong. She felt it immediately. She called the house, no answer. Called their cell phones, ring after ring swallowed by silence. The rhythm of the morning was off. The air itself felt wrong. Instead of calling emergency services right away, she reached out to someone who truly knew that home, their daughter, Ro. Ro lived just across the street, close enough to always feel safe. That call shattered the illusion of a normal Sunday. The comfort of being nearby suddenly became a curse. Ro didn't hesitate. Not for a second. She didn't wait for reassurance or reason. She ran. Picture it, a daughter sprinting across a quiet Brentwood street, heart pounding like a drum, breath sharp in the cold morning air.
This is someone who also lived with his parents. Nick Reiner lived here with his parents. We still don't know who it was that made the initial call, but NBC4 Investigates also has learned that the daughter was here at the home when police arrived. Now, as far as Nick Reiner is concerned, the troubled son of Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner, who had been in and out of rehab, there was a documentary that was made about him that involved his father.
Her mind scrambled for explanations. Maybe they're asleep. Maybe the phone's died. Maybe everything's fine. But beneath the excuses, she knew the truth. Something was terribly wrong. When Ro reached the gate, she and her roommate rushed inside, desperate for any sign of normal life. But the moment she crossed the threshold, everything changed. The air felt heavy, unnatural. The house was too still, too cold. Familiar rooms suddenly felt foreign. Every creaking floorboard sounded like a warning. The scent of home was still there, but twisted, tainted by something she couldn't explain. And then she found him. There's no need to describe what she saw. Her reaction said everything. Ro didn't scream. She didn't even call out. She ran bursting through the front door, collapsing onto the driveway, gasping as if all the air had been ripped from her lungs. Minutes later, flashing red and blue lights washed over the hedges. A first responder stepped forward and delivered words no child should ever hear. Michelle was gone too. In less than 20 minutes, Ro went from checking on her parents to standing inside a reality that made no sense. Detectives began their slow, methodical walkthrough. Cameras flashed. Neighbors whispered. But one detail cut through all the noise. There was no forced entry. No broken glass. No damaged locks. No alarms. Just silence and heartbreak hanging in the air. The house was spotless. Too spotless. That single detail turned the entire case upside down. This wasn't a break-in gone wrong. Whatever happened had come from inside the house. It confirmed the fear Rob Reiner had whispered the night before. I don't know what he's going to do next. The danger hadn't been outside the gates. It was already within. The house hadn't been invaded. It had been betrayed.
NBC4 has now confirmed that he remains isolated from other prisoners. He's not in general population. He is under a watch, a video watch, if you will. Colleen and Michael mean that everything he does is being watched and monitored on video. He is not in the prison system per se. He is in a medical ward in the prison system. And Nick Reiner right now remains behind bars without bail. When we see you tonight at 7, reaction to the death of Rob and Michelle Reiner that is still reverberating around the world. I'm Robert Kovacic here in Brentwood. Let's go back.
The door had been left open out of love, and that love was turned against them. By evening, the Reiner estate was no longer a home. It was a sealed investigation site, a heartbreaking monument to the cost of trust. Behind the yellow tape, Rose stood staring at the house that had raised her. Now it was silent, lifeless. She struggled to breathe under the crushing weight of grief. But even as that scene unfolded, something else was already happening 15 miles away, something darker than anyone imagined. The city braced for chaos. Sirens, helicopters, breaking news alerts. Everyone expected a desperate runaway, a man spiraling out of control. What they got instead was colder than fiction. LAPD surveillance footage from a gas station near Exposition, and Vermont shattered every assumption. The video showed Nick Reiner calm, collected, disturbingly ordinary. No panic, no rush, no fear. He walked in wearing a black and green jacket, a baseball cap pulled low, and a red backpack that he moved slowly, scanning the aisles like any other customer. He even stopped at the coolers, weighing his options. He picked up a sports drink, checked the label, thought it over, then got in line behind strangers, people with no idea they were standing next to the most wanted man in Los Angeles. There was no trembling, no guilt, just an eerie calm. That image rattled investigators to their core, because what they saw wasn't confusion. It was control, cold, steady control. Nick paid with a credit card, collected the receipt, and walked out. That small detail hit detectives like a punch. The man accused of the unthinkable was standing under bright lights, acting like it was just another day. Even the cashier later told police the same thing. He was polite, relaxed, completely normal. And that was the most terrifying part. Investigators couldn't wrap their heads around it. A true psychological break usually leaves chaos behind: panic, disarray, mistakes. But Nick's every move was methodical, precise, like someone who had locked his emotions away, sealed them tight, and switched into survival mode that he didn't drive from Brentwood to Exposition. He used public transportation, calmly navigating Los Angeles like a commuter, not a fugitive. Every step showed awareness. Timing, transfers, routes. This wasn't confusion. It was calculation. Cameras followed him to a small hotel in Santa Monica. And that's where the situation grew darker. Inside that room, he didn't collapse or spiral. Instead, he covered the windows with sheets of detail that sent a chill through investigators. That wasn't delusion. That was avoidance. He knew people would be looking. That room became a bunker. Forensics later confirmed it had been used to clean up, to wash, to change, to erase traces of what came before. Every clue pointed in the same direction. This wasn't panic. It was intention. Step by step, he was managing the fallout. When police finally found him, there was no chase. No struggle. Just that same unsettling calm. Nick surrendered quietly, without resistance. But the real twist wasn't the arrest. IT was what came next. Nick wasn't placed in general population. He was transferred to a high-security medical ward, isolated under 24-hour watch. Every movement monitored, every word recorded. And as authorities began to understand what they were dealing with, one truth became impossible to ignore: this case was never going to be simple. Every breath was recorded. Officially, it was for protection. High-profile cases bring danger behind bars. But insiders whispered there was another reason. Control. That sterile room became the real battleground for what came next. Now the legal war begins. Insanity or awareness. The defense will point to that medical ward and argue he's sick. He needs treatment, not punishment, that they'll describe him as broken, detached from reality. But prosecutors already have their counterpunch ready. The gas station. Footage. Nick standing calmly in line. Buying a drink. No panic. No fear. Their message is simple and chilling. He knew exactly what he was doing, but that's the real horror. The man in that video doesn't look dangerous. He looks polite. Quiet. Normal. Just another guy under fluorescent lights, holding a bottle and a secret that destroyed lives. Brentwood and Exposition Park are only 15 miles apart. But the distance between the son Rob thought he knew and the man on that screen is immeasurable. That's where truth collides with terror. While media outlets race the clock, real experts focus on what doesn't lie: evidence, science, and blood patterns. Former FBI profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole examined the case like an open book. Her analysis stripped away the spectacle and revealed something far darker. The lack of forced entry wasn't procedural. It was psychological. The threat came from someone trusted. But the real turning point came from what investigators found on Rob and Michelle. Official reports used cold, technical language, multiple sharp force injuries. Experts knew exactly what that meant. Rage. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't a moment of madness. This was personal. This wasn't random. It wasn't impulsive. It was personal. An explosion of emotion where love twisted into fury. Experts called it overkill. The level of force went far beyond what was necessary. This wasn't just about ending a life. It was about erasing connection. Years of resentment and buried emotion erupted in one brutal moment. And what trapped the defense wasn't emotion, it was physics. Forensics calls it slippage. When someone strikes with extreme force, the grip fails. Hands slide. Injuries appear on the attacker's own skin. Blood mixes. DNA overlaps. That's the trap. No matter how calculated the plan, science doesn't lie. If Nick suffered wounds during the attack, his DNA wouldn't just appear where it belonged. It would show up where it shouldn't, right beside the people he was supposed to protect. Those microscopic traces, the blood, the skin cells, tell a story words cannot. Once mixed, there's no undoing it. The evidence speaks louder than any defense ever could. Forensic experts have a chilling term for it: a biochemical handshake. Proof that locks a person into the exact second a violent act occurs. It isn't theory. It isn't speculation. It's science-backed truth, time-stamped by nature itself. That kind of evidence erases every excuse. No one wandered in later. No one stumbled upon the scene after the fact. Science makes it clear who was there when it happened. Inside the house, every detail echoed the same story. No broken drawers. No stolen valuables. No signs of a typical robbery. The motive wasn't greed. It was personal. The target wasn't money. It was human. Every mark, every movement screamed intent. Whoever did this knew the house intimately, the rhythm of its mornings, the quiet of its nights. They knew exactly where Rob and Michelle would be. And when this wasn't a stranger, it wasn't a stranger intruding. It was someone already inside. When the yellow tape finally came down and the forensic vans disappeared, what lingered over Brentwood wasn't just evidence. It was heartbreak. A silence too heavy to bear. Forensics could explain how it happened, but not why it hurt so deeply. The world didn't just lose a Hollywood legend, it lost a piece of its own innocence. Fans who grew up watching Rob's movies could hardly process the news. One viewer summed it up perfectly online: to give life to a person, only to have that person end yours. That line cut through every headline, straight to the heart of the pain. Rob Reiner had spent decades creating life on screen: warmth, humor, hope. His characters taught love, kindness, and second chances. Off-screen, he lifted others up, mentoring young filmmakers, advocating for children, standing for justice. He built lives. He didn't destroy them. And that's what makes this tragedy unbearable. The man who embodied compassion was torn apart by the bond he cherished most: his own family. The heartbreak goes far beyond fame. It's the collapse of something sacred. The shattering of a universal truth. Parents protect. Children grow. Love endures. Rob and Michelle didn't fall because they lacked love. They fell because they loved too deeply, fiercely, blindly, until that same love left them exposed. This story cuts beyond Hollywood. It's not just a case. It's a warning, a human tragedy, and a lesson in how trust, betrayal, and emotion can collide in ways no one can forget. That it's a wound the world wasn't ready for. Their story exposes something terrifyingly human. You can have everything: wealth, resources, compassion, and still not save someone who's chosen a darker path. That's the harsh truth. Brentwood's silence revealed a reality many ignore. Addiction and untreated mental illness don't stay locked away. They seep into families, twisting love, leaving scars that never heal. This tragedy doesn't end with police reports or trials. It lingers haunting, unresolved like a storm that refuses to pass. One question keeps echoing. How does love slowly turn dangerous without anyone stopping it? It wasn't sudden. It built up quietly, stacking pressure behind those perfect gates. The home that looked safe from the outside had been cracking for years. Even as the yellow tape disappears and Brentwood's streets return to calm, something there will never feel normal again. The lawns remain perfect, but trust is broken for good. This wasn't just a loss. It shattered the illusion that money, fame, or good intentions can fix everything. Rob Reiner spent his career telling stories about loyalty and connection, about standing by the people you love no matter what. That wasn't just a script. It was his belief system. He lived it. He fought for it. And Michelle stood beside him, quietly holding it all together. No one could see the pressure inside those walls. They looked strong, but they were carrying a burden too heavy to bear. This case keeps dragging uncomfortable truths into the light. Mental struggles don't vanish when ignored. They grow. Love without limits doesn't always heal, it can hide danger. And silence, even when born from hope, can turn fatal. Each new report adds more pain, more questions, more heartbreak. This isn't a clean story. It's jagged, raw, and terrifyingly real. Maybe that's why people can't look away. Behind all the glitz, the headlines, and the heartbreak, this story feels painfully familiar, that it's not just about Hollywood anymore. It's about families everywhere. Parents, children, siblings, all watching, quietly asking questions they've avoided for years. What red flags did we ignore? When does care become denial? When does love, the purest thing we have, start protecting the wrong person? These are ugly questions. But for the first time, people are daring to ask them. Deep down, everyone knows this isn't about fame. It's about the human condition. About how easy it is to believe everything's fine when it isn't. How love can blind us just as easily as it can save us. Even the happiest homes hide cracks no one wants to admit exist. And when those cracks finally split open, the pain spills out, uncontrollable. This story proves it. Behind perfectly trimmed hedges and glossy smiles, there was struggle pain that money, status, and kindness couldn't fix. And that's what makes hearts ache. Silence doesn't heal what's broken. It just delays the inevitable. Pain doesn't fade when ignored. It lingers in walls, in conversations left unfinished, in love stretched too thin until everything erupts. With every new report, every revealed detail, the weight doesn't lift. It grows heavier. The grief, confusion, disbelief, they deepen. Nothing feels resolved. Not the case. Not the heartbreak. Not the unanswered questions echoing in everyone's minds. And yet, one truth shines through. Rob Reiner gave the world laughter, compassion, and soul. His films weren't just entertainment, they were lessons in humanity. His characters felt real because they came from a real place, his heart. They taught us how to love, how to forgive, how to laugh through pain. He believed in people, in second chances, in kindness. He built stories that lifted others up, and those stories will outlive the tragedy that took him away. Rob shouldn't be remembered by how it ended, but by everything he gave. His work changed lives. His art made people feel. His legacy is warmth, empathy, and connection. And Michelle Reiner? She was the quiet force behind it all, the calm within the chaos. Her strength was never loud, but it was unbreakable. She was grace personified. Through fame, family pressure, and personal struggle, she carried more than anyone realized. Her love was steady, her faith unwavering, even as life crumbled around her. Together, Rob and Michelle were a symbol of devotion, a couple who weathered storms, who believed love could overcome anything. But as this story shows, love can be both shield and trap. It can protect you or blind you. It can heal or quietly destroy. And that's what makes their story so deeply human. Who hasn't wanted to believe that love alone could fix what's broken? Who hasn't hoped that care and loyalty would save someone slipping away? This tragedy forces those questions into the open. It demands people stop pretending everything's fine when it's not. It shines a harsh light on what many families face behind closed doors. Mental health struggles, addiction, pain, and silence. The kind of silence that grows until it's unbearable. That's what hits hardest. Because this isn't just about what happened inside one Brentwood house. It's about what happens everywhere. How darkness seeps into homes that look perfect from the outside. How love can be both the reason you fight and the reason you fall. Forensic experts, psychologists, even close friends all say the same thing. What happened here didn't come out of nowhere. It built slowly, quietly, over years. Pressure stacked day after day behind those polished walls. Rob and Michelle carried a weight no one else could see, trying to protect, trying to heal, trying to hold together something already unraveling. That's what makes this story so haunting. It could happen anywhere, to anyone. It's not about fame or money. It's about love, fear, and the human instinct to hope sometimes past the point of reason. The investigation will continue. Experts will keep debating sanity, motive, and intent. But one thing remains undeniable. This story is painfully real. And it isn't over. Motive, intent, and legal debates may continue. But in the court of public opinion, one truth has already taken hold. This was never about greed. It was never about fame. It was about love. Love stretched past its breaking point. Maybe that's why it hurts so much. Because deep down, everyone understands it. Everyone knows what it's like to love someone who's struggling to make excuses, to hope they'll change, to tell yourself it'll be okay when it isn't. That's the hidden tragedy. How easily love can turn into denial. How quickly protection can become danger. That if this story touched you, take a moment to think not just about the headlines, but about the people behind them. About the warning signs we all tend to overlook. About how important it is to talk, to ask questions, to check in before it's too late. Awareness isn't gossip. It's survival. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is refuse to stay silent. Let's keep that conversation alive. Let's talk about boundaries, awareness, and the real emotional cost families carry behind closed doors. Because this story isn't just theirs. It belongs to all of us. It's a mirror reflecting what happens when love goes unchecked and pain stays buried. Rob and Michelle Reiner left a legacy that can't be erased. A legacy of love, creativity, and resilience. They gave the world warmth and hope even when their own lives were heavy. That's how they should be remembered, not for how it ended, but for how deeply they cared, how hard they fought, and how much they gave. So, if this story moved you, honor that legacy. Talk about it. Share your thoughts with empathy, not judgment. Keep the conversation alive, not for spectacle, but for understanding. Because behind every smiling photo, there's a human story full of struggle, hope, and heartbreak. And if you believe these stories deserve to be told truthfully and with care, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the truth alive, told the right way, with heart, honesty, and respect. Rest peacefully, Rob and Michelle. You gave the world far more than it ever gave back. Your light still shines. Your love still teaches. And your story will never be forgotten.